But as I was listening to you, I tried to have the mind of a small business owner, right? How is this directly going to impact me and my business? Something that I have sunk all this time and money and heart, that sweat equity into. And so I guess I'm going to kind of approach it at that route.
Okay.
And so that way our viewership, it's for them.
It's from their seat.
Yeah, from their perspective,
right.
absolutely.
Right.
And so some of us will be a little redundant because you covered it up
That's
there.
okay.
But
okay.
So you'll be excellent at the
Okay.
end. So I guess let's just start out with, how was this program initially developed? Why come up with this concept?
Right, so the state of Illinois really wanted to address the looming retirement savings crisis that's impacting, it's not strictly our state, but these are our residents who are retiring with really not enough financial resources. So we talk a lot about how we want everybody to have the chance to retire with dignity. Part of that is just sufficiency of savings, and right now we know there are too many people who have too little saved for retirement. There's not been action on the federal level saying that businesses need to offer retirement savings option at work.
Right.
What is the importance of saving at work? AARP has found that workers are 15 times more likely to save for retirement if they can do so at work through payroll deductions. So there's a lot of power to be harnessed there. The state felt like we need to really do something to address savings efficiency, savings access for our residents. That's where you see the creation of the Illinois Secure Choice Savings Program Act, the actual state law that creates the requirement for employers to offer a qualified retirement plan or facilitate employee participation in the Illinois Secure Choice Retirement Savings Program.
Well, when you look at that bigger picture, whatever you say, what the numbers that numbers that we're looking at, when you have that many workers who do not have a retirement, it's not just that worker who's going to be impacted. I imagine that is going to impact every taxpayer across the state. What is that impact?
Right, so clearly again on the individual level, it's a really poor outcome for a worker to reach the end of their working career and realize they don't have enough to subsist on. Social Security was never meant to be the sole source of income in retirement, but people are oftentimes ending up relying on it very heavily without having a lot of personal savings, and we know the pension has sort of almost disappeared really in the private sector. On a larger, more macro level, what's the fiscal impact for us as a state, for us as taxpayers? There's an estimate that it would be an $8.8 billion issue for our state over a 20-year period as more retirees lean more heavily on public assistance. So it's a fiscal issue, it's a human issue, it's all of those things.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you added that. It is it is a fiscal issue, and we tend to talk in numbers and all of that, but really, it's about the humanity of what our senior years are going to be like.
Right, and I think historically you've seen that there have been gaps in which types of industries or what pay grades somebody might be offered access to a way to save for retirement at work, and we really feel like there's been a lot of inequity in that. And you hear from some of our participants who say, I've never been offered an opportunity to save for retirement at work, and you feel like maybe there's sometimes an undercurrent of maybe it's because I didn't deserve it because of the job that I do, the industry I'm in, that my pay grade.
Need to turn on your microphone, please.
It's not on?
Oh,
There's a blue light.
Blue light's on. Sorry, never mind.
Yes, sir.
Continue.
Okay.
Continue. Sorry.
Well, and I'm glad that you addressed that, because I was going to ask you about the inequities, because that was very intriguing to me when you said that. I don't know that we think about how widespread that would be.
Right, and so the statistic is that 40% of our private sector workers here in the state don't have access to workplace retirement savings options, but really if you dig deeper, that population that's uncovered is disproportionately workers at small businesses, workers with lower wages, workers of color, and female workers. So we're talking about populations that have had a harder time accessing financial wellness, financial security. We need to start to open the door in terms of retirement savings access, so people, when they're ready or if they're able to, can walk through that doorway and really try to build towards future financial security.
Okay, I'm going to skip right down my list because
sure.
I feel like we'll go with the
Let's do
flow,
it.
right?
Yeah.
What do you say to those business owners who are like, I've got enough on my shoulders. I'm a small business owner. I'm overwhelmed as it is. How are you addressing that?
Right. So I think this is something where, especially I think in today's tight labor market, businesses are realizing that whatever advantages they can gain in terms of being more attractive to a prospective employee, those are things they should think about pursuing. So we have definitely heard that a lot of our businesses, especially the smaller ones, say, this is something that helps me become more competitive when I'm trying to attract new talent.
Really?
When, you know, this talent is so coveted by all these other competitors too. We have an employer who talks about Illinois Secure Choice as another arrow in the quiver of benefits that differentiates him from competitors looking at that same talent pool. When we think about retaining talent, this is just one other thing that really shows you're offering a package of benefits here. I know there's an employer I've heard that has talked about how he doesn't want to create jobs, he wants to create careers. He wants to show that there's a pathway for being in this profession for a long time, and part of that is thinking not just about today, but at some point you're going to retire, and we want you to be comfortable when you're retiring. This is meant to be, you know, you should have, the ability to retire with dignity. Financial security is such a huge part of that.
And this is with the November 1st deadline. And I don't want to just address the deadline just yet, but for the small businesses, I was thinking that this was going to be some like crazy cumbersome process, right? That they're going to have to launch into and spin out. And that's not really, it's not that way at all.
Right, and again, the state law is saying that if you're a business that's covered by the state law, you need to either start sponsoring your own qualified retirement plan, and there are a lot of options in the private market that I think can be a great fit for certain businesses, or you facilitate Illinois Secure Choice, which is meant to be a lightweight option. It's really, you know, in that role as an employer facilitating Illinois Secure Choice, it's a very administrative role. You're not a plan sponsor, you don't have fiduciary responsibility, you don't make matching contributions, you don't pay fees to the program. So it's meant to be a more lightweight option that an employer can easily add in to, again, open up that channel for employees to save for retirement at work if they want to do so.
Okay, so they don't necessarily have to pick this option,
Correct.
but they do have to pick one of the options that are offered.
Right, because again, there's so much power in the ability for an employee to save, to be more apt to save if they can be offered that option at work, especially through payroll deduction. We hear this all the time from our participants, that it's so easy for them because they don't have to sit and think about, okay, what percentage of my paycheck do I need to actually actively move to a retirement savings account? It's happening automatically through payroll deduction. One of our participants talks about how before Secure Choice came along, she never thought about retirement in a very negative way, in the sense of she had never actually started to prepare financially for retirement. Now with Illinois Secure Choice available at work, she says she still doesn't think about it, but in the sense that she knows it's happening, it's in the background, she doesn't have to spend a lot of mind share thinking about how am I putting this money away. It's already happening for her automatically.
Yeah, I would say that that is much more convenient. Like I know that if I had to write a check every month, it would
or
be
think
different.
about setting up a fund transfer or something like that. This through payroll deduction, that's really the power of it.
You were talking about the percentages, and I think that's important too. They had an excellent question out there in the crowd. Is there a minimum percentage, or is that basically controlled by the participant?
Right, so participant can set their contributions rate at any percentage between 1 and 100% of their gross pay, obviously subject to any IRS annual contribution limits, but savers can customize their account in any way. If they want to move to something higher or lower depending on what their situation is, they're able to make that change.
Nice. Okay. And it's just at their discretion.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's what fits their needs and their circumstances.
One other question that I thought was very pertinent for our area in particular is we have a very tight tri-state area. You know, with Missouri, Kentucky, we have a lot of commuters. And so does it affect where our employees are from?
So if you're a business that employs residents of other states but who work here in Illinois and thus receive Illinois wages, those employees can come into the Illinois Secure Choice program on the basis of them receiving those Illinois wages. The fact that they reside elsewhere is not a factor.
Okay, perfect. Because we have so, and I'm sure you're
We
completely
have-
aware of
there's
that.
the Indiana folks up north, like the Wisconsin, kind of the
That's
Iowa,
right.
just any, I mean, we border so many states, and obviously we have a lot of commerce that happens here, so.
I think our market is 4 states.
Yeah, I heard in the
Yeah.
video. I was thinking, oh yeah. And then,
Right.
oh, also,
yes.
yeah,
So
Tennessee, okay.
the reach is crazy. I mean, as far as the commuters that we're getting back and forth. So I think that is very pertinent. Are there penalties?
There are penalties for noncompliance with the state law. So per statute, Illinois Department of Revenue is the agency that would assess those penalties for noncompliance. I will note that Revenue does not immediately take action following a November 1st annual deadline. For one thing, per statute, penalties can only be assessed against full calendar years of noncompliance. So just to give a note that yes, there are penalties per statute, but they're not immediately assessed
Okay.
following an annual November 1st deadline.
Okay. Because I'm sure that some people are like, what do I do?
Right, and I
I'm
would
going to
just-
be non-compliant.
Right, and I would say we have a deadline, but we say, by that or around then, as
Just
close
a
as you
soft
can.
deadline.
Right, we're happy to work with employers even after that point. We want to just make sure that employers have what they need, they understand what their next steps are, and they know how to take them, so.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Yes, I think one last thing,
Okay.
and then I'm going to ask Charlie if he has any further
Okay,
questions
sure.
for you. But tips. You are probably the know-all about this program, as you should be. But so tips for business owners who might be like, I don't even know where to begin.
Right, so I think in terms of just getting more information about what the state law is, if they wanted to move forward with Illinois Secure Choice, what that process would look like, coming online to our website, ilsecurechoice.com, is a great first stop. There's a lot of information there for employers. There are FAQ that are answered there. We have a live webinar series that they can register for on the website. We also have recordings, as we know that business owners are busy. They can't always commit to a certain day and time. If they just want to watch the recording on demand, that's a great way for them to get that information. We have a client services team that's available by phone and by email, so that's another option if they want to speak with somebody. We have an in-state field representative who can come and meet with the business, do a virtual session, come alongside, speak with employees at the business.
Great.
So those are all different options. And then certainly they can reach out to the treasurer's office as well as we help the board to implement the program.
And these are our small businesses, 5 to 15.
That's right, yes.
I just wanted to make sure, because I won't be editing this, someone else
Okay.
will, so I want to make sure they
Yes.
clearly know that it is 5 to 15.
Right.
Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you feel is important for our small businesses or our employees to know moving into this deadline area?
Right, I mean, I guess just related to employees, and are they required to actually save through a qualified retirement plan or Illinois Secure Choice? No, of course. It's always an employee's decision whether or how they want to save for retirement. What's critical here is that employers are offering access at work for these employees. Again, especially because a lot of these employees have never been historically offered a way to save for retirement at work. And that's been a real issue that contributes to why we have such a large retirement savings crisis. Is it's been hard for employees to save on their own. Let's really harness the power of workplace retirement, and this is really, the state law is meant to help close that access gap.
Is there really any way to entirely offset that deficit that is looming over us?
So access is one issue, but also participation, also saving sufficiency, right? Just because you have the ability to save at work, does that mean that you're saving enough? That's a whole other issue, right? I mean, when we talk
Right.
about financial stability, financial security, it's a multivariable type issue, right? It's about sufficiency of pay. It's about what are your expenses are you holding on to that you have to pay first before you think about saving for tomorrow.
Right.
We have a lot of families, we know this, or households that can't weather unexpected financial shocks without really having to think about where they would go and turn for those funds. So there's not one single thing that would solve for the retirement savings problem, but I think improving access is one step, but there are a lot of other variables that go into financial security.
Okay, thank you. Charlie, is there anything else
Yes.
okay?
Oh, whoa, here we go.
Do you want the seat?
No, I'm going to sit over here. So
He's going to get a
I have to sit behind you. So
I
we
just
don't-
was
the
sort of
eye
like,
lines
oh,
don't change.
just
Sure.
gonna kick you out. Okay, bye.
No,
Right.
gosh, no.
Sorry, Christine.
So
See you
as
later.
she mentioned, we have 3 states, primary, 4 states really. So the 2 states that have enacted something at the moment are Missouri and Illinois.
Right.
Right. So Missouri doesn't. Do you call it a MERP or
A MEP? Yeah,
MEP.
the multiple employer plan.
Right.
Right.
So why is Illinois' IRA kind of focus plan better, and can you compare the 2?
I wouldn't really want to compare them because I think they're just different avenues to trying to address the retirement savings crisis. Again, there's no single answer that would solve for that crisis, and so there are different approaches that different states have tried. So if you look at the 19 states across the country that have enacted retirement-related legislation, the most popular model is this concept of what we call the auto IRA, the type of program that Illinois Secure Choice is. You see that as the most dominant model, but there are other models out there. So the idea of a multiple employer plan is something that Missouri is going to pick up and do in the coming years. That's just another route to, again, try and address the access gap. try and increase the number of workers that have an easy way to save for retirement by doing so at work.
Okay, that was, I think, an important question, because
There's
they're
the
going
methods
to wonder why. So do you work with the other states? Are you aware of, so we know Missouri is 2025 will roll out, but Kentucky and Tennessee, at this point, they have nothing. Are you aware of any sort of movement that they are making in those states?
So I would say there's a great resource. Georgetown University runs a Center for Retirement Initiatives, and that is a great place to go and really get an update state by state on what may be happening legislatively, or if they already have a program, how that program is going, where they are with implementation metrics, program metrics, things like that. So that I feel like is a great repository for updates on all of the states and all of the activity that they're seeing there.
Okay.
CRI is
That's
great.
where you were snagging your graphs from and
We
everything,
grabbed
wasn't it? It
that
was
one.
the
So,
Georgetown.
yeah, and the other thing too is the states that have legislation, we all convene on a monthly basis.
Oh.
Georgetown convenes us on a monthly basis. Some of the active implementing states also have a separate monthly get-together. We do an annual conference, so there's a lot of collaboration between
That's
these
great.
states. But this is a very young industry, right? The very first state to launch a program was Oregon in 2017, followed by us in 2018, California in 2019.
I didn't realize it was so young.
It's a very, and we're considered an older, more mature program. We're school age, if you think about it
Right.
in those terms, right? We're 5 years old. So it's been an interesting space because there's been so much innovation and because there's been so much collaboration. The first generation, we've been telling the second generation, third generation, here are the things you should think
I was
about.
going to say,
here are
you
things
have gone through all the
shouldn't do.
growing pains already.
Right.
Yeah.
Here are the lessons learned, here are the best practices, and we're still developing, we're still innovating, and really trying to figure out what elements do we need to add or improve or change that are going to really improve outcomes for our participants.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Let's
thank
get
you
a
for
roll
seeing
call.
us.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
nice to speak
Oh,
with you.
apparently uncrossed my legs
Yeah,
7
sorry.
times that I
Hi.
had.
All right, hold on, let's see here. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Great.
All right.
Good deal.
So,
Thank you.
um,
Yeah, thanks.